All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of On the Couch with Dr. Miles. So my special guest today is the one and only Jess Kobryn. She is our Title IX coordinator and equity investigator. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So I'm going to jump right into the questions. So March is Women's History Month. Yay, shout out to women. So to celebrate, could you talk more about how Flagler empowers students, particularly the women on campus?
Sure. Yeah. I think the one thing that I like the most about Flagler is that students are able to create spaces for themselves and for their interests, which empowers them, to be leaders and to get involved right away. And we have several organizations on campus that support women. The ones that come to my mind that people can get involved in right away are BFDC, the Black Female Development Circle. We have a new organization called Alpha Sigma Alpha and Phi Alpha Omega, which are both really active women's organizations on campus that all actively support women, and help to empower women.
Yeah, and our campus is, we have predominantly female students, and so being able to offer those opportunities for women to come together. Some organizations are exclusive to women, others are just have a focus on women, but either way, having those opportunities for people to come together and celebrate women is really important. And my producer, Presley, who I almost forgot to shout out, is behind the camera nodding vigorously, so she agrees with everything you said. So could you give a brief overview, because you are our Title IX coordinator. So could you give a brief overview of the changes to the sexual misconduct policy from this past year?
Sure, a brief overview will definitely be hard, but so there's been some major changes to the Title IX guidance and regulations in general. As far as for the sexual misconduct policy, which is the Title IX law is what guides that policy, from the previous administration, the definition of discrimination on the basis of gender was narrowed, so it doesn't cover as much. It only applies to incidents that are on campus or within a college-sponsored program. There's an expansion on our advisor role, which is a support role throughout the process, and I've really focused on expanding what that role looks like and getting some more support to that role. There's a mandatory hearing panel. There's a mandatory cross-examination, and then there are some just really specific trainings that I have to go through in order to stay in compliance with Title IX in general, with the law.
Wow, that does sound like a lot, and you did a good job of keeping it brief. I can imagine it can be difficult with some of the changes that you described, explaining to students why we might have been able to offer them a different type of support last year that we can't offer them this year. And so this is kind of unscripted, but have you had any situations where you've encountered students who are just confused by the changes in the process?
I have, and I think that that I'm able to explain that, this is what the law says, this is what's able to keep us in compliance. It doesn't actually mean that their protections are less. So we're still here to support our students. It's just in a different way. So what used to fall under the sexual misconduct policy that doesn't anymore might now fall under student conduct, which it will still be addressed, just in a little bit of a different way. And so I'm able to explain, what that looks like. And so far, students have been really receptive and have understood that I'm not the person who writes the law and the regulation, and that we're just, doing what we have to do, but we're still, here to support our students.
Well, that's good. So thank you for your continued hard work. You have a very difficult job, but I know you're great at it, so thank you.
Thank you.
So now that there is a new administration, you referenced that these changes were made under the previous administration. So now that we have a new incoming Secretary of Education, are there any changes that you anticipate happening this year?
Yes, that's also a loaded question, but yes, hopefully. So very recently, a executive order was just released by President Biden, and it hints to things to come. And so I'm able to look at that and I'm able to try to guess, I think, at what might be coming or what changes might happen. Biden was instrumental in helping Obama write his guidance. And so I think it'll look a lot like what Obama's guidance looked like. So that means that everything that I just said was going to change. I know for a fact that there will be enhanced protection for our LGBTQ plus community. There will be an explicit expansion on gender identity expression, and like I said, sexual orientation. There'll be an expansion, a re-expansion, I think, of the sexual harassment definition that was narrowed by the previous administration. There'll be an expansion of jurisdiction. So I used to deal with every incident, no matter if it happened on or off campus. And I think that will come back. And then I also think they'll eliminate cross-examination, just because this isn't the court, this is not a court of law. And adding cross-examination kind of makes it seem like that. And so I think Biden's administration will take that away.
Yeah, I do remember a lot of conversation about, referring to the student conduct of the Title IX process as a quote kangaroo court. And so I was actually kind of shocked when they took a lot of steps to make it look a lot more like court, because we act in higher education work really hard to make sure it's clear that we are not a court and we are not trying to be a court. And so having practices that confuse that, I can see being not as helpful.
No, we definitely talk about it as an administrative process or an educational administrative process rather than anything about the court. But the previous administration really used a lot of words that the court uses, took away a lot of the language. Like, for example, the higher education umbrella term used to be sexual misconduct for all sexual harassment, sexual assault, gender discrimination, any type of sexual violence. And now it's sexual harassment is that umbrella term, which is confusing for some people, because up until now, we've been saying it's sexual misconduct is this umbrella term, and then we've shifted to this more legal term of sexual harassment being the umbrella term. So it's kind of sometimes hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, as I've been saying, I'm sure even though your job is hard, I know you're doing a great job. So thank you for all of it, for explaining it to people like me and to our students who just, this can really all be confusing. So yeah, thanks again.
You're welcome. I enjoy it.
So my last question, from where you sit, from your perspective, what words of advice do you have for students to finish this semester strong and make good choices?
I think students, they sometimes forget to take a break. And it's really, coming from, sometimes I feel like they need to hear it from someone else to take a break. And, they're working really hard. And when you start to really get overwhelmed, it's not helping anyone for you to not get your sleep, or for you to not drink water or eat, or do whatever makes you happy and the most productive. And I think a lot of students, around this time and, even after spring break, we start to get into this crunch time, and students have to go. And if I try to make an appointment with a student, they're always like, oh, I have time in 2 weeks, maybe. I'm like, whoa, schedule some time and take a break every now and then. There are little things in the day that you can do to be productive while not, stressing yourself out. So take a break.
Yeah. That's great advice that we can all benefit from.
Yeah, I know. I want to say I should take my own advice too, but I do.
All right.
We all take a break.
Indeed. So that was my last question. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave with our student viewers?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think that sometimes students are, I don't want to say afraid, but they might, be intimidated by my position and coming to talk to me. And I want to just throw it out there that I like talking to students. I like, forging relationships with students that that I like to hear about their life and their interests. And, I am in student affairs. And so if a student just wants to come by and chat and either learn about what I do or not, then that's totally fine. So that's kind of my last thought, is to come say hi. I'm in the Student Center in room 218.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much, Jess. And for everyone watching, thanks for tuning in for another episode of On the Couch with Dr. Miles. Have a great day.
Bye.